Adlaw. Welcome to Casa Gorordo Museum.
Cacao in the 21st century. Before, in Lantoy Cave, on the highest mountain in Argao, lived Maria Cacao.
Casa Gorordo Museum is a centerpiece project of the Culture and Heritage Focus Area of the Ramon Aboitiz Foundation Incorporated. The museum's mission is to promote awareness and appreciation of local culture and enable the Cebuano to tell his story. It is in line with Rafi's vision of touching people, shaping the future.
Uy, B. Noon sa namin mong noong, uy, nagmuro-muro naman sa lagi na.
Dahil kayo parang tutsyo ka nakiklaan ko sukat.
Pandemya, bayalan sa kaya maglag-lag, tanong?
Wala tutsyo pakin ako.
Namang good. Ano lang, ato atag ka sa Gorordo Museum na.
Di ba sarado pa sila?
Ambli na, uy. Virtually. Ay, no pang load, B. Huwag mo kalimut good nga saan ko ni mo glag last year, but kanilang sa for now, ha? Pinaagi sa Casa Gorordo Museum Virtual Tour, makasuway tag guided tours lod sa balay ug napagay mga pagdrama sa maayong pamatasan sa una sa mga Subuanon.
Hala kalay siya good anak, B. Basin mahal si kayo na, B, ha? Abli na ba yung atang gatsal?
Hello, B. Afford ra kay ni B. Uy, only the best for you.
Hala, wala din sila admission fee. Hala, ato kong nasuwayan, B.
So, hey, good! Pwede na mo bisita sa Casa Gorordo gamit imong mga smartphone, iPhone, Android phone, aside sa laptop or desktop.
Hala, ingon na nagigit sila ka-accessible? Hala, kasayo na di mo suri sa Casa Gorordo Museum, uy.
May mata na, uy. Kanya, kumusta man yung experience sa Casa Gorordo Museum Virtual Tour?
Nindot kay akong feeling Roy kay mura jud kog naa sa sulod sa museum. Og daghan sad kog nakatunan Roy bahin sa balay Roy kultura og kabilin sa atong mga Sugbuanong katigulangan. O basta inindot kaayo og ako po nang i-share ang link sa virtual tour nila Lester, Japet, James ug Jasper ug sa akong mga mangod og family og para kinistanan.
So, ay mo paglangan?
O i-check na ninyo ang website sa casagorordomuseum.org. Aron ma-experience ninyo ang among na-experience.
Most loving Father, you have brought us to the beginning of a new day.
As our eyes open to the morning light, our mouths praise your beauty and goodness in the splendor and design of your creation.
We accept the renewed gift of life and grace with gratitude.
We offer you our every thought, word, and act today, and pray that it be in accordance with your will and in furtherance of your glory.
Make us instruments of your presence to others.
Use our minds to understand the big picture, our hearts full of passion and purpose, and our hands to build partnerships.
Let us be advocate persons to become architects of change and fulfill our promise of elevating lives of communities and people we serve.
When evening comes, gather us again, safe under the shelter of your wings, to rest confirmed in your love.
And with the assurance that with your help, we have taken one more step towards a better world.
Amen.
Maayong hapon sa tanan and good afternoon everyone. We are back this afternoon for another episode of CGMtalk online series. Ako di ay si Rave and I'll be your host for today. I am the program officer for events of Casa Gorordo Museum. For those of you who'd like to watch our previous episodes, they are still available in our Facebook page and Casa Gorordo Museum YouTube channel. Just click subscribe sa ato ang YouTube channel, and then you can see sa playlist ang amo ang lain-lain nga videos for you. We have our So Beautiful series videos and our live webinars as well. Then, the CGM Talk online series is one of the many programs of the Culture and Heritage Unit of the Ramon Aboitiz Foundation that promotes culture and heritage of Cebuanos. And today, we are celebrating the 501st anniversary of the Kadaugan sa Mactan. As we reconnect with our roots, join us this afternoon to discuss how the Kadaugan sa Mactan performance and reenactment evolved through the years. Our speaker for this afternoon
is a Master's of Arts in Theater Arts at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. He is the founder and director of the independent theater group Young Thespians of Cebu. Known to be a theater actor, impresario, playwright, and director, he directed plays in Cebu such as Sister Act the Musical, Doubt, New Yorker in Tundo, The Normal Heart, The Blood Wedding, and An Odious Damned Lie. He performed internationally in the musical plays Calambajo in Europe, directed by Cebu theater icon Al Evangelio, and Call of Guadalupe in Sydney and Melbourne, Australia, directed by Beth Mondragon. He wrote original Cebuano plays that were staged in the Visayas: The Surge, Disney X, Cakes and Pastries, Tropic Trilogy, and Q-Pass. Recently directed a play, Kasal sa Dugo, an adaptation of Federico Garcia Lorca's The Blood Wedding at the Cebu Coliseum in 2020. He wrote a research paper on cultural memory, Kadaugan sa Mactan, as his thesis in the MA Theater Arts program at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Please welcome our speaker for today, Sir Emmanuel Mante.
Hello, thank you very much, Sir Rave and Rafi, for this opportunity to share about my study, which is also my thesis from the graduate school at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. I majored in theater arts. Okay, Sir Rave, can you please help me so I can share my slides? So the title of my thesis is Kadaugan sa Mactan 2019, Performing History and Reenactment. So Kadaugan sa Mactan reenactment, or also known as Victory at Mactan, dramatizes the epic Battle of Mactan, where Lapu-Lapu and Filipino warrior king who commanded the natives to fight against the invading Spanish conquistadors in Mactan Island. In April 1531, based on Pigafetta's written accounts, Magellan with 60 Spaniards and friendly Filipinos from other islands tried to dock on the shore of Mactan. Lapu-Lapu and his men were already prepared with their iron-tipped spears, poisoned arrows, and swords. Lapu-Lapu already knew that Magellan wanted to take his village and force him and his people to pay tribute to the King of Spain. In their narrow warships, the Spaniards reached the beach, and the battle that ensued was fierce and bloody, and the men from either side, both sides, men fought valiantly. In the end, Magellan was killed in the battle. So I think we all know this story, no? Kung Cebuano yun ka, no? So dapat kabaw yun ka aning story. You should know your history. So in my chapter 2, I discussed about the competing narratives of the Battle of Mactan, the relationship of Lapu-Lapu's monument to the reenactment, which I'm going to elaborate a little, and Lapu-Lapu as myth, because Lapu-Lapu as a historical figure, he also transitioned into a folk, and Lapu-Lapu in various texts and contexts, and how he's interpreted in film, in poems, in song, and in statues. So this is the Lapu-Lapu monument in Mactan Island. So the place or location is important in terms of situating significant events and cultural details. It is also shaped by the notions of regional patronization. Cebu is understood and believed as the place where Lapu-Lapu originated. Thus, memorializing him through the statue is highlighted and met with no opposition. The statue exhibits a function of heroic and nationalistic symbolism among Cebuanos. So what's the relationship of the reenactment to the statue? So the statue represented an implicit definition of how it materially organized the space, most especially with respect to the audience's experience and perception of understanding the narrative. Hence, monumental space is not just a space that contains monuments or statues, but a space that is in itself monumental, embodying and describing cultural and political realities through the statues. So we have three elements here, no? The space, importante good kayo ang space because the community of Mactan believes that ang actual battle sa 1521 Battle of Mactan nahitabo gyud dinhi dapita kung asa gi-erect ang statue. And then of course we also have the reenactment, no? Nga gitawag siya nga moving kind of memorialization, no? So monuments like this statue somehow legitimize and validate, providing a cohesive knowledge and assemblage of meaning as to what it should appear, most in the work of performance space. These different spatial arrangements, purposiveness, and modalities in statue vis-a-vis monuments affect our understanding of relationships with performance. Specifically, the particularities of plays and its capacity to recontextualize and reformulate a performance activate how spectators perceive and experience it, and one of which is a reenactment. So it does not only conjure the past, but also turns it into something else. The statue of Lapu-Lapu in the Mactan shrine signifies in the manifestation of abstract ideas such as culture, nation, people, and power, internalized and actualized in the Mactan community. So in chapter 3, which is the highlight of this afternoon's discussion, is the history of the Kadaugan sa Mactan reenactment. So it's a discussion of the history of the development of the Battle of Mactan reenactment since 1979. In fact, mas nag-una pa ang Kadaugan sa Mactan reenactment kaysa Sinulog because Sinulog came in 1980. So it traces back the underlying cause of its conception, movement, and its amalgamation of communities, academies, and stakeholders that were responsible of shaping the performance. No? Kay dili raman ang community sa Lapu-Lapu ang ni-help o create sa reenactment, but also ang mga academies and other stakeholders. So let us not forget who's dubbed as the father of Sinulog, Mr. David Udilao, now 85 years old. So the reenactment before was not called Kadaugan sa Mactan. It was Bahug-Bahug sa Mactan. Mauna yung unang name sa una sa Kadaugan through the vision of David Udilao. Udilao called it Bahug-Bahug. So because the event turned festival was a potpourri of different shows and cultural performances of the kabataang barangay, such as the Cariñosa, Tinikling, and street dance of the Victory of Mactan. So dili lang ang reenactment ang ginatanaw, and up to now, no. So there are also other performances, no, mga such as the Cariñosa and Tinikling. So before the staging of the reenactment, Udilo worked with the Bureau of Customs until General Fabian Ver assigned him to head the youth ministry in Cebu. His qualification was based on his exposure as a chairperson of the Confederation of Youth Leader in Cebu. So si Sir David Udilo, hindi siya theater artist, no? But he was a leader, a youth leader. He went to Manila, attend seminars to get further instructions and understand better what the ministry was all about. During that time, he had no clue regarding the political agenda of the Marcos administration. Yes, no? Appeal ang Marcos administration sa paghimo ani. None of them among the regional leaders of the ministry knew that it was Ferdinand Marcos who was behind the ministry. So, Udilo attested that this movement was patterned after Russia's secret intelligence during my interview with him. The Russian cultural movement was bound to create united front among the intelligentsia in the service of the revolutions from the elimination of illiteracy in the Soviet Union and supervising every aspect of academic and cultural life. So concerning the cultural pattern of Russia, Marcos melded together politics, sports, and culture, such as the Bahog-Bahog sa Mactan, to promote the image of his administration as a patron of the sports, arts, and culture. So the Philippines National Intelligence Security Agency used athletes as cover for operative intelligence through the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. Thus, the Bahog-Bahog sa Mactan became one of Marcos's political agenda through a panoply of activities and behaviors. Organize cultural events, sports, physical fitness, exercise, leisures, and parade. So the reenactment was one of the cultural programs created by Marcos administration through the youth ministry, together with his generals in accordance to nation building and to further strengthen military alliances. So in cultural programs involving the youth through cultural movement would divert them from joining rallies and protests against the Marcos administration. So moving forward, so this is one of the pictures that I got from Sir Bong Lofranco, one of the dancers during the first few reenactment back in 1979 and 1980. So naagid sila sa beach, no? Naa sila sa shore, nag-perform, and it was done through live instrument. And you can see that the audience, in a way, informal po ang setup sa audience. Like that, the instruments, the musical instruments used in the performance. And this is the example where, like you see, there's a puddle. Kay ang performance maghulat man og low tide, no? So ang low tide nahitabo na siya nga somewhere at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So like any production event, expenditures are essential for completing the requirements. 30,000 pesos was allocated budget for each ministry, was not enough for completing the project. Extensively, Udilao took the initiative to seek more solicitations and funding through the help of his equally patriotic friends and sympathizers. Notably, one of them is the Gelak Trading Incorporated and many others. In 1979, during the first year of the reenactment, the ministry was able to acquire monetary support from big companies, while notable universities also facilitated them in Cebu City, led by prominent names in Cebu, like Matias B. Aznar III, Attorney Agosto W. Go, Josephine Gullias, and a few others. Udila really went to their office and met them in person. 8 universities took part in this undertaking, namely Southwestern University, which I also had the chance to interview Sir Cesar Nimor. He was one of those choreographers during that time. Cebu Central College, currently known today as University of Cebu, University of the Visayas, University of the Southern Philippines, Cebu Institute of Technology University, Cebu Institute of Arts and Trades, currently known today as Cebu Technological University, Colegio de San Jose Recoletos, known today as University of San Jose Recoletos, and lastly, the University of San Carlos. These universities represented the villages, namely Marigondon, Agos, Buaya, Pusok, Soong, Cordova, and Mactan. During rehearsals, because I'm going to talk about the rehearsal process since I come from the field of theater arts, directions went on how to get about the performance without any script. The dialogues were pre-recorded and primarily were driven only by exclamatory phrases and sound sense by the actors. So the gestures were really big, no? Para masabtan, understanding the space na kupod kaayo, no? Nya na yung mga sound sense like sa kanang solo, mingana, like, no? So but the actors had to shout, but there was only sound sense because the dialogue came from the radio personality who acted as the announcer and narrator to weave the scenes together. Dancing was also performed in selected scenes, and most of the dancing feats were delivered by the ensemble. So the fighting swords used resembled the campilan and the Spanish conquistador swords. During the choreographed fight scene, some of the actors inflicted minor abrasions because of the material they used as fighting weapons. Kaya ang gigamit nilang Sir Odilaw during that time was puthaw. Yun. Although not like the actual sword, no, nga makaslice yun, no. But gigamit din nila puthaw because according to Odilaw, this is one way to capture authenticity, no? Unlike karon, ang gamit na gyud karon cardboard, no? So it's light materials. Pero sa una grabe gyud kuno kay even rehearsals mga samad, no? And most of the actors kuno during that time sa mga fight scenes were also from sa ROTC, no? And then naasad sila trainer nga from the Arnis, no? And some 100 actors played Spanish conquistadors, and Lapu-Lapu's natives are played by cadets and military troops. So, a festive celebration, this picture that you watching right now, followed the last part through street dancing among the indigenous community in Mactan, which happened at noontime on the same day after the reenactment in the morning. So after sa reenactment, naapag event, no? The performance was somehow like the street dancing of Sinulog performed by the 8 different academic institutions of Cebu who represented the 8 tribes of Mactan. The dancing was an expression of merrymaking after Lapu-Lapu's victory over Magellan. This was not a form of contest or competition among universities, but merely a showcase that resonated triumph in Mactan. So, the Bahog-Bahog sa Mactan was commemorated for 2 days on April 27th and 28th. Unlike karon, nga mudaga na gyud siya a week, no? Mas taas na karon. The first day of opening showcased the reenactment considered as the highlight. The second day showcased other succeeding activities such as sports, cultural dances, contests, and variety shows. One of the changes of the reenactment during the 1990s was when it added a performance part where the natives venerated the Santo Niño through boastful dancing. Pero karon wala na karon kay na naman tay sinulog. The second was the planting of a giant cross as the conclusion of the performance. This segment of the reenactment suggested embracing Cebu's history as the cradle of Christianity in the Philippines. And one of the significant changes in the reenactment in the new millennium was the artistic interpretation done through musical theater. During this time, musicals such as Miss Saigon influenced the entertainment and theater industry in the Philippines. The audience were quite pleased with the performance done through musical numbers and dance extravaganza. Notable Cebuano directors who reimagined the reenactment into a musical were Al Evangelio, Daisy Baad, Raji Palanca, Benji Diola, and the current director, Mr. Rudy Aviles. On the other hand, the roles of Lapu-Lapu, Magellan, and Bulakna in the millennium were played by celebrities and television personalities projected as matinee idols, just like Derek Monasterio, who played the Lapu-Lapu in 2019. These matinee idols were walloped upon by the masses. This change created a buzz that drew many spectators to witness the reenactment. In fact, world boxing champion, the Senator Manny Pacquiao, was one of the famous personalities who played Lapu-Lapu in 2008 alongside his wife, Jingy Pacquiao, playing Bulakna, and Dennis Trillo, playing Magellan. So during the new millennium, the reenactment was renamed subsequently in its Cebuano vernacular, the Kadaugan sa Mactan. Before, pag 1990, kuan man to siya, the Battle of Mactan, English. But karon, gibalik na siya sa Cebuano, no? By the late former Lapu-Lapu City Councilor Damian Damgo Gomez. The return to the vernacular aimed to emphasize project ownership by embracing one's language, the Cebuano Bisaya. To this day, the reenactment is still known as Kadaugan sa Mactan. Promoting the Cebuano Bisaya title counters against notions of colonial hegemonic force. The reenactment should be distinguished based on our local tones, nuance, and culture to promote, pay tribute to our native roots. So, ang chapter 4 nako is actually the heart of my thesis. So, which discusses the current trend back in 2019 before the pandemic ravaged us. So, this chapter presents and analyzes historical reenactment. Specifically, it thoroughly discusses the actual Kadaugan sa Mactan in 2019 during my field work. And it also analyzes activities and other performances in the context of tourism and the envisioned quincentennial celebration in 2021. In fact, there was a performance headed by the National Quincentennial Committee, or the NQC, and the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, or the NHCP, chaired by Rene Escalante in cooperation with the local government in Lapu-Lapu City. So this was a countdown, a 500 days countdown before the 500-year celebration. Organizers set the stage for a momentous event leading up to the culmination of the historical battle and Lapu-Lapu's triumph in Mactan. The performance was titled Mangyaw ang Mundo ng Ating Mga Ninuno, which centered on the commemoration of the Visayan civilization's proud race before the Spanish invasion conquistadors and their beginning of propagation of Christianity in Mactan, Cebu. So again, these are the pictures also of, so I included this kaning mga hotels and the food festival and other performances to talk about the reenactment in the context of tourism. No? So the Mactan Shrine is a place surrounded by business enterprise, capitalistic establishments, and beach resorts that attract tourists. Examples of these famous commercial establishments and beach resorts are the Mactan New Town, Plantation Bay, Maribago Blue Waters, and many others. The shrine does not only become a tourist spot, but also a place where people from all walks of life meet and experience both the historical glimpse and the touristic enterprise. Now, ang Department of Tourism, or the Tourism Office, is called the Lapu-Lapu City Tourism, Cultural, and Historical Affairs Commission, or the TCHA Commission. Can I drink water first? Sorry. So I also included the Rampada Festival in Mactan because most people would consider this also as one of the highlights in the celebration. So the Rampada sa Kalsada literally means rampage on the road or street. This event is a side sweep that contributes to the spectacular promotion of the island of Mactan. The first Rampada Festival was held on April 30, 2011, after the Kadaugan sa Mactan. It is technically patterned from the colorful aesthetics of the Mardi Gras in Brazil. However, the mode of artistic expression has no direct contribution to the Cebuano cultural paradigm and has no historical relevance to the Battle of Mactan, which, by the way, ang atong mga artists po, sa community contested against this. The activity depicts an entertaining event filled with shiny and colorful costumes and astounding dances, through which the crowd becomes hyped, disorderly, and ebullient while simultaneously eating, drinking, walloping, dancing, and many more. At the streets during the Rampada, a long stretch of entertainment stations, which includes food shops, kiosks, and disco stations, are operated. On one of the days during the festivity, a showdown is held, which included colorful and vibrant presentations of choreographed dances, like this picture that you're seeing right now. So, kani ang mga pictures nato. Pag 2019, there's a little change of direction sa performance, no? Because during that time, our president, Rodrigo Duterte, was expressing his disdain about celebrating Christianity. Why would we celebrate Christianity when in fact it is a reminder of the time when we were oppressed, we were under or subjugated by the country Spain. So the artists and the community redirected the story and didn't include the part where it highlights Christianity, but instead highlighted Lapu-Lapu as the central character of the story. So that's why nagsugod-good sa Lapu-Lapu at childhood scene. Um, and the wedding of Lapu-Lapu and Bulakna, and the Babaylanes considered as the narrator in the performance. And Magellan, the arrival of Magellan, which was also played by a celebrity, Paul Newman. And the death of Magellan scene in the 2019 reenactment. Some of us might think, no, nga, I'm sure most of us think nga si Lapu-Lapu gid personally ang nagpatay ni Magellan, but in fact, it's one of his soldiers based on Pegafetta's account. So, celebrating 500 years of Christianity in the Philippines. So, mauna ni ang 500 years nga during sa panahon sa COVID-19. And as you can see, nag-wear na dayon og masks ang atong mga performers, no? Yeah, strictly good. It was not open to the public, no? Only few officials and the entourage of Duterte was invited in this event. So, despite the pandemic, a small-scale reenactment was staged on April 27, 2021. The performance was 12 minutes long but was not open to the general public due to the health protocol and regulations. The actors had to wear face masks during the reenactment. There were proposals to postpone the reenactment to the following year, but on a personal note, it would have been anticlimactic not to coincide the reenactment with the year that 500 years of Christianity celebrated. And of course, mandatory man gyud ni ang reenactment kay gihimo na mo gining balaod ni Marcos, no? So, dapat naagi performance nga mahitabo annually. The pandemic had brought some compromise to the event, but with the eagerness of the stakeholders, not only was the event successful, but it had inspired the stakeholders to pursue a celebration in 2022. This mindset demonstrated the resilience and in the midst of a challenging time. So this is me during my field work, and beside me, that's the director, karon, si Sir Rudy Aviles, during my field work. Yan, makita niyo sa background, mga stilt houses mo na ang set nila, bongga. Also, si Sir Victor was also one of the directors. Hindi lang si Sir Rudy. No? Si Victor Hao Cuenco is also one of the co-directors of the current Kadaugan sa Mactan pag 2019. But karon, it's Sir Rudy Aviles and Mr. Alfie Mosqueda na. And thank you. That's it. And I again would like to express my gratitude to Ramona Boitis Foundation Incorporated and Mr. Rave Axel Fabria for inviting me to speak about my comprehensive study about the Kadaugan sa Mactan reenactment. And I believe this is now the part where the audience would have the chance to ask questions. Hopefully I can answer them.
Yes, sir. So I hope our audiences know if you have questions, please post them in our comment section so that Sir Eman can answer them. Sa pagkakaroon, wala pa tayo questions from our audience, but I have kanang questions of my own, Sir Eman. No? This is to be honest, wala pa ko naka-witness og Kadaugan sa Mactan nga reenactment og kaning presentation. Even the famous Rampada. I came to Cebu around 2010. So 2011 to sir, no, nag-start ang Rampada. Yes. Are there like kanang big difference between the Rampada and the kaning sinulog na to nga street dancing?
To be honest, I haven't seen also the Rampada. But in terms of the street dancing, I think that's something that we can compare, like, how rowdy it is, how fluid it looks like. But I think there's a difference naman. Kasi atong sinulog is really a veneration of the Santo Niño. Parang Rampada is just really, wildly celebrating and considering it as a festival. Yeah, in my opinion.
I see. Another question that I had in mind, sir. Nganong bahog-bahog ang tawag? I'm not sure if you can answer, no, but nganong bahog-bahog ang unang name sa Kadaugan sa Mactan?
Oh yeah. Kay matud pa ni Udilaw, bahog-bahog siya because it was not only about the Kadaugan, the reenactment, but there were also other events, like the sports events and other cultural events, like the dances, like the Cariñosa, etc. So it was not only about the reenactment, but it was also about the other events. So it's like bahog-bahog, like, in Bisaya, like we consider that like a mixture of something. That's why it's a potpourri of events.
I see. Kay actually, pag mention mo ganina about bahog-bahog, no, ang unang nasud sa kong una-una is this, yes, ang kanampan nga, we call it bahog-bahog. It's also a mixture. If wala kaila sa atong audience, mo siya paying a mixture of mga lain food nga types of bread. So mo siya may unang nasud sa akong una-una. So mao di ay, but are the other activities like kato sports naa pa ba gihapon siya hantud karon sa when we celebrate Kadaugan sa Mactan?
Ang sports, wa na kay ko kabantay sa sports, pero naagin ang mga cultural events, no? Nagi participation sa ang mga last 2019 pag ato na ko nagi participation na ang mga pulis, manayaw sila, pero it's no longer about mga cultural Cebuano dances. It's appeal na ang, pop culture, no? Sa mga latest trends sa mga music, may sayawon, may kantahon, unya mang-invite sila mga artista gikan sa Manila, no, to draw the crowd together, no, and then ay mga kiosk, wa gid na siya mawa yun, no. Mm-hmm.
I see. Mura na lang siya og like presentation na lang jud siya ug unsay ma-present sa kaning gipang-invite, like ato police officers or I don't know, teachers siguro. So mao na lang. Aside from the bahog-bahog questions, sir, no, about the reenactment itself, I've also read books about Kadaugan sa Mactan, about Lapu-Lapu, about the Battle of Mactan. Naay mga lain-lain nga version o lain-lain nga suggestions as to what really happened. I heard, because we had a chance dinhi sa Casagordo Museum nga naami bisita who were arnis instructors. So naasad sila version nga dili jud to kampilan ang gigamit to kill Magellan. Naapod ko'y nadunggan nga version nga gidakdakan raman to si Magellan og bato sa iyang naong bitaw. Ang kani sila nga mga nga interpretations or kani sila nga mga stories are these like na feature ba ni sila during the in the long years of reenactment sa Kadaugan sa Mactan? Were there years nga gi-consider ang kani nga mga stories, or did we really stick to the kampilan?
Based on my research, kay kita man good, like I think it's human nature for us nga we crave for that moment when we see that scene where ang ato yung hero na si Lapu-Lapu ang patay ni Magellan. So it has always been good, that performative na si mismo si Lapu-Lapu ang nipatay ni Magellan niya. He was pierced using the kampilan as far as other competing narratives are concerned. So naagid na di gid na siya mawagyon ang the battle between Magellan and Lapu-Lapu. Based sa ako ang na-witness po, si Lapu-Lapu gyud na pirmi mo patay ni Magellan.
Yes, no, kay murag murag anticlimactic kayo if siguro sa reenactment lain ang mupatay and then sila pulapo ang i-praise, so sila pulapo jud ang unsay tawag ang main hero or ang character jud sa reenactment. By the way, sir, si Sir Cesar Limor that you mentioned earlier, actually kana siya comment atong i-shout out si Sir Cesar Limor. So ni-comment siya, when Kadaugan started as bahog-bahog cultural dances and storylines were all pre-colonial. I see. Okay. And then mauna to nga ni start na siya og evolve dayon into mura na siya og ni hug siya into the direction of entertainment kay lain-lain na ang presentations na natay katong colorful na add na ang rampada and all that. And ako lang yung nagsinog pangutana no for our audience. If you have questions, please post them sa comment section so that mapangutana na to si Sir Eman if ever you have questions. Students, I think we've invited students from different universities. Unfortunately, siguro murag naa sila yung mga klase, but they'll be watching the recording. This talk will be uploaded sa amo ang Facebook page o YouTube channel so that makakita gihapon mo guys if ever nga medyo busy mo karon or unsa ba. Now, since wala pa man gihapon tay questions, so actually ako I'm really thankful for this opportunity kay daghan sa kaayo ko og nakatunan from Sir Eman. Now, because by the way, we are Casa Gordo Museum is actually planning to make a very short documentary about a video documentary about the Kadaugan sa Mactan. We are starting a new project where we highlight Cebuano culture and heritage, of course, and also the heritage keepers, as we call them. Ang katong mga tao nga nagpadayon bitaw sa ato ang heritage. Very thankful that a thesis like this by Sir Eman highlights ang kanisiya because sometimes ang kaning mga millennials karon medyo mo-focus na lang sila sa rampada or sa entertainment nga aspect, not more of the cultural aspect. Now, Sir Eman, does the choreographers po ba sa kaning Kadaugan sa Mactan mag-usab-usab basad sila per year? Because we can consider them no as also the kato heritage keepers as we call them kay sila man mo nagpadayon, but are these choreographers lain-lain or is it like passed down na ara joy pinili og kinsa ang pwede maka-choreograph sa Kadaugan sa Mactan?
Okay, that's a good question. Dako yung kay factor ang involvement sa artists because din ha good nimo makita ang ultimate vision sa performance. And in terms of choreography sa 2019 nga reenactment, may pagka festival-ish ang iyahang choreography, no? Yeah, it's also a combination of a modern trend and may pagkagamay nga ballet and at the same time na may pagka-folk, no? So like sila ni Sir Alfie Mosqueda, Sir Victor Hao. Okay. Of course, si Sir Victor Hao Cuenco, ang strength man yun ni Sir Victor Hao is more into the festival. So it was a combination of festival choreography and a little bit of modern ballet. And at the same time, there's this theatrical blockings, no? Now, it's like you're watching a play, but at the same time, it's a naasa dance interpretation. Because for what I know also, pag 2017, ang event pod is, murara po kuno siya playground demonstration, but it was not the team of Sir Rudy and Sir Victor who created that. So, mag-usab-usab yun na siya. Pero ang dili yun mausab, no? Nga it's reiterated yun since 1979. Ang pagpatay yun ni Lapu-Lapu ni Magellan, kay maumang yun na siya gihuwat sa mga audience na to. That's really the highlight and the climax of the reenactment.
And I think they're doing the reenactment man siguro today, 27th. So katong mga viewers, og naa man ganitay viewers and our fellow Cebuanos nga naa sa Lapu-Lapu. So happy Kadaugan sa Mactan. ninyo kami Kadaugan ninyo din ha karon. And I think they are opening the kung ano no ang kaning third bridge during ilang iusa sa celebration, and it's the closing pod of the um quincentennial marker nga naa sa Mactan, ang kaning Kadaugan sa Mactan for 2022. And let me see here, wala pa tay question so far, but we have viewers nga si palayhan ni Sir Jan Kataraha from Subang Dako, Mandawi City. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this afternoon. And by the way, for those of you who'd like to get e-certificates for this talk no about Kadaugan sa Mactan, make sure that you answer our feedback form. Akong i-post karon sa comment section taon-taon ang ato ang feedback form. And again, kato ug naamoy mga questions, please medyo nitaas ang ato ang viewers towards the end no. For our new viewers, if you have questions about Kadaugan sa Mactan, the reenactment and the artistic performance, please post them sa ato ang comment section so that mapangutana nato si Sir Eman. And sir, this is not the first time that you've shared your kaning research, sir, no? About Kadaugan sa Mactan. You've also did talks nga international, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, the first one was last year in East West Center in Honolulu, Hawaii. That was really the first one, and then in UP, and then in Japan, because UP, Diliman, and Japan had this ties together. So, and now this is the fourth one. So that's why I was very happy. Finally, nanagid ko sa Cebu. Nanagid ko chance maka-share din sa Cebu sa akong thesis. Kay kuan manggod sir kanang ang theater in terms of the scholarship medyo marginalized siya din sa Cebu. No one really writes so much about it. Most especially for academic consumption. But good thing we also have Sir Cesar Nimor, who I know nga, who also wrote a book about our cultural dances. So, but I'm very hopeful naman nga we're getting there. No, so hinay-hinay nga nagitay magamit nga, most especially nga rich man gid kayo ang atong Cebuano theater, most especially during the pre-war, no, kato silang Pio Cabahar, Bienvenido Rodriguez, and Vicente Soto. Those were the three major playwrights we've had sa Cebuano theater, and then the Teatro Junquera, no? So nana may nagsuwat ana. And then I'm also very excited kay naasad ko na mga, like I've heard that there's somebody writing about the theater of the protest during the Marcos time, no? Kay active man kayo atong mga theater artists during against the Marcos regime. So nindot sad nga na mga masuwat na, no, para makahibaw sad ang atong mga millennials karon, ang mga Gen Zs, no, which I think they're so disconnected with our history. So they really need to reconnect with their roots.
Very true bitaw sir. No? So it's really exciting in this time no nga naay paingon na atay something I look forward to, studies like yours about performance and theater arts. Bitaw medyo scarce ang ato ang sources when it comes to these things. Gamay ra ang manuwat, gamay ra ang mubasa, and we hope nga this talk can contribute to our goal of really spreading culture and heritage in different aspects and performance arts and everything and all that. Yeah, wala pa gihapon tayo questions, but sir, I would like to thank you in behalf of Casa Gordo Museum and the Ramon Aboitiz Foundation Incorporated. We would like to thank you. Thank you so much for accepting our medyo short notice pa dyan to ang amo ang invitation sa kaning CGM Talk in time for Kadaugan sa Mactan. Thank you for accepting. And before I let you go and go to the announcements, no, do you have any parting words, messages for the people who are watching right now and for those who will watch in the future? Og naa kay maistorya sir, I'll give the floor to you.
Sure. Somebody coming from the performance studies, I know we have this social stigma about, Yun din na sila, theater. O saan na theater? So like ako, theater, di ka rin may theater, no? Pero ang role bitaw sa performance studies, no? Because one of the major roles is it preserves memory. In fact, acting is one of the oldest professions. When men crawled out from their caves and sat by the fire and told stories about their daily lives, because before there was no systems of writing. So what they had was storytelling, no? And they preserve it through chantings and big gestures. And why chantings and big gestures? Because it's so easy to remember them. And the role of the shaman was to preserve it. And that's why ang shaman is considered as the first actor and director in theater, no? So to preserve their stories and pass it on from generation to generation until, of course, the Greeks came and invented the alphabet, and so playwriting was born. So what I'm trying to say is, it's hardwired for us human beings to crave for stories, and stories, they're essential in our lives because it touches the heart and the mind of every audience. Labi na yun, it has something to do with history. Ang history, we study history so that the mistakes of the past will not be repeated in the future. No? And dako kay role ang theater also sa pag-educate sa atong mga kabataan karon. No? Dili lang for the sake of entertainment but also to educate themselves. That's all. And thank you again, Sir Ray, for inviting me and for having this opportunity.
Thank you sad kaayo, Sir Eman. And since medyo nidaghan na pud balik ang ato ang viewers gamay, no. For those of you nga naa questions, just comment them down sa ato ang comment section, and then we'll try to get Sir Eman nga maka-answer pod siya, because this is all in Facebook and in YouTube raman pod, so that we can continue the conversation, the discussion after the kaning live nga talk na to. It's really nice, as Sir Eman said, no, ang ato ang mga Gen Z, mga millennial, medyo disconnected sila sa history, and it's something that we are trying to do to contribute bitaw to bridge that gap nga everyone will be conscious, everyone will know. So kana siya. And again, Sir Eman, thank you so much. Maayong hapon nimo. And yes, for those of you who are watching right now, I've already posted in the comment section ang link for the e-certificate. Just answer our feedback form. Comment also what you'd like to hear in the future talks that we have. We'd like to hear from you. And of course, if you think that there's something that we can improve sa ang monthly CGM talk, comment them down and we will work on it. Salamat kaayo. I'd like to thank, Casa Gordo would like to thank viewers from Facebook, viewers from YouTube, our partners from the universities, University of San Carlos, University of Cebu, teachers from DepEd. And again, if you'd like to watch our previous episodes, naara jud sila, you can watch them in Casa Gordo Museum Facebook page and YouTube channel. And with that, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon, and we hope to see you again at Casa Gordo Museum.
Uy, B. Noon sa namin mong noong, uy, nagmuro-muro naman sa lagi na.
Dahil kayo parang tutsyo ka nakiklaan kusukan.
Pandemya, bayalan sa kaya maglaag-laag, tanong?
Wala tutsyo kayo pakin ako.
Namang good. Ano lang, ato atag ka sa Gordo Museum na.
Di ba sarado pa sila?
Ambli na, uy. Virtually. Ay, no pang load, B. Huwag mo kalimut good nga ni saan ko ni maglaag last year, but kani lang sa for now, ha? Pinaagi sa Casa Gordo Museum Virtual Tour, makasuway tag guided tours lod sa balay ug napagay mga pagdrama sa maayong pamatasan sa una sa mga subuanon.
Hala kalay siya good anak, B. Basin mahal sa kayo na, B, ha? Abli na ba yung tanggap sa?
Hello, B. Afford na kayo ni B. Uy, only the best for you.
Hala, wala di sila admission fee. Hala, ato kong nasuwayan, B.
So, hey, good! Pwede na mo bisita sa Casa Gordo gamit imong mga smartphone, iPhone, Android phone, aside sa laptop or desktop.
Hala, ingon na nagigit sila ka-accessible? Hala, kasayo na di mo suri sa Casa Gordo Museum, uy.
Snake, may mata na, uy! Kanya, kumusta man yung experience sa Casa Gordo Museum Virtual Tour?
Nindot akong feeling, Roy, kay mura dyan kong naa sa sulod sa museum. Og daghan sa kong nakatunan, Roy, bahin sa balay, Roy, kultura, og kabilin sa atong mga subuanong katigulangan. O basta nindot kaayo, og ako po nang i-share ang link sa virtual tour nila Lester, Japet, James ug Jasper ug sa akong mga mangod og family og para kinistanan.
So ay mo paglangan
og i-check na ninyo ang website sa casagordomuseum.org.
aron ma-experience ninyo ang among na-experience.